Hello, good morning, and welcome to this week's special transfer deadline day edition of the Premier Football Podcast. We're producing a short video this morning before the main pod to keep you up to date with all of the deals being done across England, across Europe. I'm joined, as always, by my good mate Joe Doherty. Joe, how are you?
Better today than I was yesterday, Rafe. Yesterday it was pissing down with rain. I went out for a run, and just as I was finishing my run, a van, I should say, comes all the way across the dual carriageway where I'm running on the cycle path, and deliberately comes into the bus lane and drives through a puddle to splash me. And it was just a rotten way to start my day. Thankfully, clear blue skies today, and deadline day. It's not deadline day as we know it, is it? It's COVID-ridden, financially unstable deadline day. A few loans going around, not much, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, well, look, you say it's not the same old deadline day, but to be honest, as a Liverpool fan, it's a huge day for us, because normally we have our business done so early in the window. We're used to getting all of our signings done in the first week and then absolutely nothing happening. So I've been deprived of this kind of last minute flurry of activity for years now. We were saying there just off air, it was 10 years ago. Unbelievably, that Torres left on deadline day and Suarez was signed and Andy Carroll was helicoptered across the country for that medical. And we're seeing almost similar signs at Liverpool today. Obviously, there's a deal done late last night for Preston North End defender Ben Davies. Looks to be confirmed for in around the region of £2 million, with Seth van der Berg going the other way on loan. But it's reported that Liverpool will try to sign a second centre-back today, with moves for players like caleta-car being touted, moves for the likes of Sven Botman, moves for the likes of Bade from RC Lens, and we want to talk a little bit about those. Joe, before we get into it, what's your favourite memory of the January transfer window?
Well, I think you summed it up just then, Rafe. It's definitely the one 10 years ago. I remember having school the next day and staying up way past midnight because I wanted to see the Andy Carroll Fernando Torres deal go through. It was very, very dramatic, and it was a real rarity in a January transfer window. So I'd have to say that.
I actually remember, the Robinho deal as well a few years before that. That was the first big deadline day that I remember.
Was that 2008? I think it might have been 2008. And that was obviously City's first big signing. That was them announcing themselves, and they've never really looked back. But no, I mean, January transfer window is usually very disappointing, not just from an Arsenal perspective for myself, because from an Arsenal perspective, it's extra disappointing. If you think of the likes of Kim Kallstrom, Denis Suarez, we obviously did sign Aubameyang in January.
Henrik Mkhitaryan.
That didn't work out, did it? Or Shavin, we signed in January, that worked out. But I mean, on the whole, in terms of the Premier League, it's usually pretty dull, and it's not when teams want to be doing their business, is it?
Not at all. You mentioned that there might be a couple of outgoings from Arsenal. You mentioned Maitland-Niles to me off air, and who was the other?
Yeah, so there are three homegrown players. It's Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who's linked with Leicester and Wolves, and there's another club, but it's escaped me. Move to Leicester would be good, though, wouldn't it? That's a step in the right direction to move up. And then Reese Nelson's linked with a move to Germany. Obviously, he played for Hoffenheim 2 seasons ago on loan, did all right over there, not getting in match day squads at the moment, so he should really get some game time. And Joe Willock is linked with a move to Newcastle. Again, I think he should go and play football. I don't think he's at the level required. So for all three of these, I would actually use these loans as an opportunity to get their market value up and then to sell in the summer.
Now, to bring us back to Liverpool, where I want to go, there is one more Arsenal player linked with a move away from the Emirates. Hashtag Mustafi Monday is trending on Twitter. With the 28-year-old, I can't believe he's only 28, being reportedly offered to Liverpool for free as of Fabrizio Romano this morning. Look, I think that's a deal that Liverpool have known is available to them. It has been on the cards for weeks, and it's obviously not their first choice. You know, they've gone out and signed, like I said, Ben Davies last night, and they are looking at a handful of other centre-halves. To give you the updates that we've got this morning on those players, it looks like the caleta-car deal will not be happening. Marseille were unable to acquire a replacement in the squad for him. They wanted to get somebody on loan. He was reportedly due to fly to Merseyside yesterday, with the deal being agreed, but that has fallen through, according to several reliable sources. That is not going to happen. Sven Botman was rumoured to be moving to the club. Liverpool fans last night at 11:30 were tracking private airplanes from Lille to Blackpool. One landed at 9:30, which obviously caused massive speculation. Who's flying on a Sunday night in the middle of a global pandemic on a private plane from Lille to Blackpool, if that's not football related? But again, reliable sources online have said that Sven Botman is not moving. There have been no negotiations with Lille, which leaves it open to speculation that a player in the vicinity of Lille, potentially a player from RC Lens, which is obviously a stone throw away from Lille, Loic Bade is the one that Liverpool could be getting a deal done for today. So that looks the most likely foreign import to be the arrival at Anfield. Obviously, there have been names like Issa Diop, Roman Saiss, also linked with Liverpool. The Saiss deal was rubbished by James Pearce midweek. But Issa Diop is still one that Liverpool fans, I think, would be very happy to get in.
Yeah, just if I can come in now. Caleta-car is the only one of those three European playing centre backs with any kind of experience. Botman has played just 20 games for Lille. He's just 20 years old, and Loic Bade is Botman's 21 and Bade is 20, and he's only played 16 games for Lens. So, if you compare Mustafi is obviously a fullback, but if you do compare them with them, although he's very error prone and has become somewhat of a comedy figure at Arsenal, he is experienced. He has performed at the highest level. He's obviously a World Cup winner. He has Champions League experience, years of Premier League experience. Both are a risk, but I think Mustafi is maybe a safer bet than those players for the time being, if you need an immediate impact.
I suppose it depends what you're looking for. And what Jurgen Klopp said midweek was that Liverpool are hoping that the short-term answer can also be the long-term answer. And you can see that's what they're planning here. Obviously, they have a long list. I don't want to call it a short list, but a list of players that they obviously would have scouted over the last couple of years that they would have known would be targets going into it. Now, obviously, you don't want to fall too far. Look, if whoever it was, Botman was top of that list, or Upamecano or Kanate or whoever it was top of that list. Obviously, you don't want to be bringing in your sixth or seventh choice and banking on them for the next 4 or 5 years. Like, as you said, these guys are only young. And if we were to bring someone like that in, it would be on a 4 or 5 year contract. It wouldn't be until the end of the season. So I suppose you're right, if they felt that there was a chance that they could go and get one of their number one targets in the summer, maybe the better option would be to bring in somebody on a shorter term deal, especially having secured Ben Davies last night. It's not like they're completely desperate at this stage. And for the record, I think that Nat Phillips and Jordan Henderson did a fantastic put in a fantastic performance yesterday in the game against West Ham. So they're obviously, look, they are in desperate need. There's massive injuries, but they do have cover there. They have signed somebody else last night, and if it was a case of just getting another body in the door, if they signed Mustafi, he might never even need to play for the club, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's just his cover, and then you can obviously revisit that in the summer. I think it's probably a sensible move. It's a very risky time to be signing players. You need to have a clear plan and not just being reactionary.
I suppose it depends on the type of money that's being talked about, though. Like there's no gamble at all associated with the Ben Davies move, and he comes really highly rated from Preston as well. He was due to be moving to Celtic in the summer. I think he had 6 months left on his deal, and they were agreeing a pre-contract this week. But Liverpool have come in, they've hijacked that deal, and they've offered £2 million, which is obviously more than Celtic were going to pay for free. So, and they've included a 20% sell-on clause as well. So, look, I've been reading a lot of Preston fans absolutely gutted to see him moving. Apparently, he really is top quality. Now, there's obviously a massive step up from the Championship to the Premier League. We've seen Spurs player Joe Rodon try to do that, and he's not had a great couple of games in the last week. This is his first kind of prolonged spell in the first team, so I don't know how much faith one would put in a centre half coming up from the Championship mid-season, especially in a Premier League team that is obviously trying to win the league. But it'd be interesting to see if a player like that has been bought to start for Liverpool, has been bought as second or third choice, or whether he is going to be fifth or sixth choice.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of pressure to come up from the Championship. It's obviously a tough league, but the difference between Preston North End, who I want to say are the only club since the start of the Premier League to have never been relegated from the Championship and to have never been promoted to the Premier League. I feel like they might be the only ones. They're like a stable mid-table, and I mean that's difficult. It's very difficult to be a stable mid-table Championship team. It's a volatile league, so fair play to no, it's a difficult task, but he obviously comes highly rated. If we can, I'd like to touch on Spurs, Rafe. They've obviously struggled yesterday against Brighton, and they're in poor form, and we'll get into that in the main pod. But Dele Alli, obviously high profile attacking midfielder linked with a move away, and Christian Eriksen, another high profile attacking midfielder formerly of Spurs, linked with a move back. What do you think of those two deals? Where do you think Dele Alli could go to, and what do you think of the prospect of Eriksen coming back, because he is unsettled in Milan?
Yeah, I had read this morning that Inter had decided that they didn't want to sell Eriksen, and I suppose you can almost understand why. I mean, it's going to be too late for them to bring anybody else in. And this is the thing with Spurs. I don't think Spurs want to let Dele Alli go unless they can bring in another senior replacement as well. Like, Spurs are working with an especially thin squad at the moment. And especially when you factor in the injury to Harry Kane up the top end of the pitch, they do need somebody there. Obviously, Jose hasn't got on with Dele Alli. They seem to get on like a house on fire when Jose first joined the club, but it's obviously that their relationship has fallen apart. And it would be best for all parties if he left. But if Inter can't secure a replacement for Christian Eriksen and they won't let him go, I think Spurs would be absolutely mad to let an attacking player go without cover coming in.
I completely agree, and maybe in the main pod we could get more into the Jose's treatment of Dele Alli, because I do think that that's an interesting talking point, and his old school approach clearly hasn't worked there. Are there any more deals that you'd like to discuss, Rafe? Anything else happening across the Premier League?
I think that you've got a list of transfers up there, a list of rumours up somewhere, Joe. We might rattle through them quickly and just maybe score them a number as to how likely we believe they are to happen.
Yeah, so just going through BBC gossip, the first one that pops up is Leicester City interested in signing Watford midfielder Nathaniel Chalobah. Obviously, has Premier League experience.
Former England youth international as well.
Yeah, 26 now. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that one. What do you think?
I mean, it could happen. It depends on the money that's being touted. He's a good technical footballer. I can't imagine he'd set the league alight, but I think that he'd be a handy enough squad player to have. And if they can get him on it for a decent price, I see absolutely no reason why not.
Here's an interesting one. Southampton in talks with Chelsea over a loan for Billy Gilmore. That would be a good signing for Southampton, I have to say.
That would be a great signing for Southampton. It'd be a great move for Billy Gilmore as well, because I think there's a lot to be learned from Ralph Hasenhüttl at the moment at Southampton.
Absolutely, yeah, and then he could come back to Chelsea. Hasenhüttl and Tuchel are a little bit similar. They're very tactical, aren't they? And if he was going away to work under another very tactical manager at a good club like Southampton, then I'm sure that could be advantageous for Tuchel and Chelsea going forward. The next one.
Sorry, Joe. Romano has just said on Twitter that there is no chance for Christian Eriksen to leave Inter today. He's staying. Right. Tottenham wanted him as Dele Alli replacement, but no agreement reached. Leicester were also in contact with his agent.
So we can now presume that Dele Alli stays as well if Spurs can't get their first choice replacement. Presumably. Unless they can find someone else. I'm not too sure who that might be. Interestingly, I think Eriksen would have worked. Obviously, Bale isn't working, but I think that Eriksen would have worked coming back to Spurs. I still think that he's good. I'm not entirely sure if Serie A is best suited to his qualities or Antonio Conte is best suited.
No,
to him.
that's a move that really hasn't worked out for him.
Yeah, it's just square pegs in a round hole. Potential swap deal between two South Coast clubs. Joshua King, obviously at Bournemouth, who's barely played this season in the Championship, potentially swapping with Shane Long of Southampton.
I think Southampton are getting the better deal there, mate, if I'm being perfectly honest. I love
So
Shane Long
am I.
as an Irishman. He should never buy a point in this country again after the goal he scored against Germany, but he's not been doing it in the Premier League for many, many years at this stage. And we know that Josh King is good for normally 10 to 15 goals a season in the Premier League. And that's, well, that's if he's playing every week, for
it's a significant upgrade on Shane Long,
isn't it?
who's good for 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's not much else happening so far. It is still very, very early on in the day, but there's really not much else going on.
Liverpool are trying to get a deal done for Ozan Kabak, apparently.
Right.
That's the latest. That's the latest Twitter news going through it here. Edin Dzeko's representatives have made contact with Manchester United. Apparently,
I saw that he was it United. He's been linked with a number of clubs. I think he's unhappy. He fell out with the Roma manager, Paulo Fonseca. Yeah. So he's obviously done a great job for Roma since he left Man City. Why they would want to bring in another 32 plus striker on high wages when they already have Cavani, I don't know, but United's transfer policy is strange to say the least. So you never know. I can't see that happening though.
Villa are being linked with the potential permanent signing of Ross Barkley. I think that'd be a great move. Chowdhury is potentially going out on loan from Leicester to Newcastle or West Brom. Glenn Murray is apparently joining Nottingham Forest, 37 years old. He's going there on a permanent deal. Tanganga could be allowed to leave on loan from Spurs as well.
He's fallen off a bit this season. He was very good last season. I thought that he'd kick on this year, but Jose just hasn't given him the opportunities.
Apparently, Danny Rose's move to
last season.
Trabzonspor has fallen through. That would be a real step down for him moving to Turkey, wouldn't it?
Who's that? Danny Rose?
Yeah.
What's his level at the moment? I mean, he's not even been given a squad number by Spurs. He'd be asking for reasonably high wages. I'm not too surprised. His loan to Newcastle last season didn't really work out. It's there comes a point where people just won't touch you. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, mate. Okay, well, look, Joe, that seems to be all of the news that is broken this morning. It's now 10:15, so we're going to wrap it up now and get this out as quickly as we can. Guys, if you have enjoyed the show, please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it around with your mates, and there will be a main show coming out shortly this afternoon as well. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.